The horizon falls silent. Outer colonies had always been humanity's gambleless string of settlements scattered across the fringe systems. Like pearls on a broken thread, New Horizon was the crown jewel among them. A terraformed world where wheat fields stretched beneath twin suns and children played in streets. Their grandparents had carved from alien rock. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the observation deck of the orbital defense platform Sentinel-7, watching those twin suns paint the atmosphere in shades of amber and rose, and wondered how many more sunsets this world would see. Contact. Lieutenant Morrison's voice cut through her thoughts, steady but tight. Multiple signatures dropping out of FTL at the system's edge. Sarah moved to the tactical display, her reflection ghosting across the holoscreen as star positions shifted and recalculated. What she saw made her blood run cold. Dozens of contacts. No hundreds. The display struggled to differentiate individual ships from the sheer density of the formation. "Get me a count," she ordered, her voice calmer than she felt. "Still processing, Captain. Current estimate." Morrison paused, his face pale in the blue light. 743 vessels. No, wait more dropping in. 800, 900. The bridge fell silent, except for the soft pinging of sensors. Sarah had served in the Colonial Defense Force for 15 years. She'd fought pirates, smugglers, and the occasional territorial dispute with the Volner Trading Consortium. She'd never seen anything like this. "Identification?" she asked, though she already knew the answer would be nothing good. "Checking databases now. Hull configurations don't match any known species in our registry. Waitware being hailed." The main screen flickered to life, and Sarah found herself staring at something that made her understand why the old scientists had argued so fiercely about what constitutes intelligence. The being before her was vaguely insectoid, its carapace gleaming with a metallic sheen that suggested either armor or natural evolution toward warfare. 6 eyes, arranged in 2 rows, fixed on her with an intensity that felt almost hungry. "Human colony designated New Horizon," the creature spoke. Its voice translated through some universal system that made it sound hollow and ancient. "I am War Master Krelix of the Zerathon Imperium. You exist within territory claimed by our expansion fleet. Your continued presence is ... inconvenient." Sarah straightened, every instinct screaming at her to show no fear, no weakness. "This system was colonized by humanity 23 years ago. We claim it by right of settlement and development. If the Zerathon Imperium has territorial concerns, we're willing to discuss. Discussion implies negotiation between equals," Krelix interrupted, and something that might have been amusement rippled through its mandibles. "You command 12 defensive platforms and perhaps 30 combat-capable vessels. I command the Crimson Fleet, 917 warships, representing the military might of 3 conquered species. There is no negotiation. There is only compliance or extinction." The screen went dark. Sarah stood frozen for 3 heartbeats, her mind racing through scenarios and discarding them just as quickly. 3,000 colonists on the surface, maybe 5,000 more scattered across mining stations and agricultural satellites, all of them depending on her to make the impossible possible. "Get me the fleet commanders," she said quietly, "and open a priority channel to Earth. They need to know what's coming." Within minutes, the command deck of every human vessel in the system displayed the same grim tactical situation. Sarah looked at the faces on her screen, veterans and newcomers alike. Some she'd served with for years, others she'd only met in passing. Captain James Rodriguez of the destroyer Valiant, Commander Yuki Tanaka of the carrier Endeavor, Lieutenant Commander Marcus Webb, barely 30 years old, commanding the frigate Defiant with more courage than experience. "I won't lie to you," Sarah began, and she saw them brace for what was coming. "We're outgunned by a factor I don't even want to calculate. The Zerathon fleet could likely obliterate us in the first engagement. But those people down there," she gestured toward the planet rotating peacefully below, "they're counting on us to buy them time, to give the civilian transports a chance to evacuate, to make these bastards pay for every inch of space they take." Rodriguez leaned forward, his weathered face set in determination. "What's the plan, Captain?" Sarah pulled up the tactical display, her fingers dancing across the controls as she highlighted positions and vectors. The Zerathones are expecting us to defend the planet directly. Traditional doctrine: hold the high orbitals, make them come through our defensive platforms. That's what any military force would do. But, Tanaka prompted, a slight smile playing at the corner of her mouth. But we're not any military force. We're humans, and humans have a nasty habit of rewriting the playbook when the old rules don't work. Sarah expanded the display to show the entire inner system. The asteroid belt, 40 million kilometers out, dense, chaotic, full of nickel-iron rocks, the size of small moons. We're going to make them come find us. Webb frowned. You want to abandon the orbital platforms? I want them to think we've abandoned them, Sarah corrected. Skeleton crews on automation, set to create maximum sensor noise. Meanwhile, we position our actual fleet in the belt, use the asteroids for cover, and wait. Wait for what? Rodriguez asked, though understanding was already dawning in his eyes. Sarah's smile was predatory. For them to get cocky. For them to split their forces to search multiple sectors. For them to learn that the most dangerous thing in this system isn't the platforms, or the ships, or the weapons. She met each of their gazes in turn. It's the humans who refuse to surrender. The acknowledgments came back one by one, grim but determined. As the connection terminated, Morrison approached her station, his young face troubled. Captain, even if this works, even if we damage their fleet significantly, there are still hundreds of them. How do we win? Sarah watched the Zerathon armada beginning its slow, inevitable advance toward New Horizon, a red tide of warships that blotted out the stars. She thought about her daughter back on Earth. About the wheat fields below that might soon burn. About 8,000 years of human history that had taught one lesson above all others. Survival isn't about the odds. It's about the will to defy them. We don't win, Lieutenant, she said softly. We just make damn sure they remember what it cost them to take what's ours. The belt becomes a battlefield. The asteroid belt that orbited New Horizons, sun had never been meant for war. Miners had carved claims into the larger rocks, establishing automated extraction sites that pulled precious metals from ancient stone. Now, those same asteroids would serve a different purpose as cover, as weapons, and as the stage for humanity's desperate gambit. Captain Sarah. Chen floated in the cramped confines of her command chair aboard Sentinel-7, watching her fleet disperse into the chaos of tumbling rock and ice. The platform had been designed as a stationary defense post, but human ingenuity had a way of repurposing everything. Emergency thrusters, never meant for more than station keeping, now pushed the massive structure deeper into the belt's embrace. Positioning complete, Morrison reported, his voice crackling slightly through the interference of millions of tons of metal-rich asteroids. All vessels reporting ready status? Civilian transports are loading now. We've got maybe 4 hours before they're ready to jump. 4 hours. Sarah ran the calculations in her head for the 100th time. The Zerathon Armada was advancing in a standard conquest formation, a main battle group aimed directly at New Horizon, with smaller hunter packs breaking off to sweep the system for threats. It was textbook fleet doctrine, the kind of overwhelming force that had probably crushed a dozen species before humanity. They were about to learn that humans didn't read from the same textbook. Contacts entering the belt perimeter. Lieutenant Zhao called out from the sensor station. 68 ships, cruiser class and above. They're spreading out in a search pattern. Sarah felt her pulse quicken. 68. Still overwhelming odds, but not impossible. Not anymore. All ships maintain strict emissions control. Let them come to us. The waiting was the hardest part. Sarah watched the tactical display as the Zerathan hunters prowled through the asteroid field, their powerful sensors sweeping for any sign of human presence. They moved with confidence. Almost arrogant predators certain of their prey. That confidence was about to become their first mistake. Captain Rodriguez, Sarah spoke quietly into the command channel. You're closest to contact group 3? 8 ships. Destroyer equivalent. They just passed within 2 kilometers of your position. Rodriguez's voice came back steady and cold. Valiant is locked and ready, Captain. Give the word. Sarah watched the alien ships glide past the hollowed-out asteroid where the Valiant lay hidden. Its reactor running on minimal power, its hull cooled to match the ambient temperature of surrounding rock. The Zerathons had no idea that death waited in the darkness, wrapped in human steel. "All ships," Sarah broadcast. "Light them up." The asteroid belt erupted. Valiant's main railguns spoke first. Magnetic accelerators launching tungsten projectiles at a significant fraction of light speed. At this range, the Zerathon destroyers had no time to react. The first round punched through the lead ship's hull like paper, kinetic energy flash vaporizing internal systems and turning the vessel into an expanding cloud of debris. The second and third shots found their marks before the aliens even registered they were under attack. From a dozen hidden positions, human warships revealed themselves in bursts of fire and fury. Commander Tanaka's carrier Endeavor launched its full complement of Fighter 60 small, nimble craft that swarmed the confused Zerathon formation like angry hornets. Lieutenant Commander Webb's Defiant used the asteroids themselves as weapons, positioning mining charges on carefully calculated trajectories and detonating them to send multi-ton rocks hurtling into enemy hulls at devastating velocities. "Enemy fleet is responding," Morrison shouted over the cacophony of combat alerts. "Main battle group changing course, they're moving to support the hunters." Sarah had expected this, hoped for it even. "All ships, execute dispersal pattern Delta. Make them chase us through this entire damn belt." What followed was a deadly game of cat and mouse played out across millions of cubic kilometers of space. Human ships would strike from ambush, destroy, or cripple their targets, then vanish back into the maze of asteroids before the Zerathon could bring their superior firepower to bear. The aliens had numbers and raw power, but humans had something more valuable: intimate knowledge of every rock, every hiding spot, every narrow passage too dangerous for larger vessels to follow. Captain Rodriguez proved particularly adept at the new form of combat. His Valiant would appear as if from nowhere, unleash a devastating salvo, then dive behind a nickel-iron asteroid the size of a small moon. The pursuing Zerathon cruisers would follow, only to find themselves in a carefully prepared kill zone where Tanaka's fighters waited in ambush, or where Webb had seeded the space with proximity mines scavenged from the mining stations. "Enemy casualties mounting," Zhao reported, and Sarah could hear the disbelief in her voice. "We've confirmed kills on 43 vessels. Probable kills on another 17. Captain, they're pulling back." Sarah didn't allow herself to celebrate. She knew what was coming next. The Zerathons had underestimated them once. They wouldn't make that mistake again. The communication channel crackled to life, and War Master Krellick's image filled the screen. The alien's composure had cracked. What Sarah had mistaken for calm superiority now revealed itself as barely controlled rage. Clever, Krellick's hissed, its mandibles clicking in what might have been grudging respect or pure fury. "You fight like scavengers, hiding in the rocks, striking from shadows. This is not how civilized species conduct warfare." Sarah leaned forward, her face hard. "We're not interested in conducting warfare the way you expect, War Master. We're interested in surviving. And if that means we fight dirty, use every advantage, break every rule you think applies, then that's exactly what we'll do. Your tactics have cost me 60 vessels, Krellick said. 60 ships from a fleet of 900. A minor inconvenience. But you have made this ... personal. The Zerathon Imperium does not tolerate such humiliation." The screen filled with new contacts. The entire Zerathon Armada was advancing now, not in the cautious search pattern of before, but as a solid wall of warships, intent on scouring every asteroid, every hiding place, until nothing human remained. Captain Morrison said quietly, "Civilian transports are reporting ready for evacuation jump. They're asking for clearance." Sarah looked at the tactical display one last time. The Zerathon fleet was coming, and this time there would be no ambushes, no clever tricks. Just a brutal, grinding battle where humanity's 30 ships faced down hundreds of alien warships in open combat. But they had bought the time they needed. 8,000 colonists would live to see another day, to carry forward the story of this moment, to remember the names of those who stood between them and extinction. "Grant clearance," Sarah ordered. Tell them to jump immediately and don't look back. She switched to the fleet-wide channel, knowing that every human warrior in the belt could hear her words. All ships, this is Chen. The civilians are away. We've done our job now. We do our duty. They want to take New Horizon? They want to claim this system? Then let's make them pay a price they'll never forget. Make every shot count. Make every second matter. Show them why humanity doesn't surrender. Acknowledgements came back, one after another. Voices steady, despite the impossible odds. Rodriguez, Tanaka, Webb. Every captain, every crew. Every soul who had chosen to stand rather than flee, the Zerathon Armada crashed into the asteroid belt like a crimson tide, and humanity met them with fire and defiance. The real battle was about to begin. Asterisk, the price of victory, the asteroid belt had become hell incarnated in vacuum. Explosions bloomed like deadly flowers across the darkness. Each one marking the death of a ship, human or alien. It no longer mattered. What mattered was the mathematics of attrition. The numbers were not in humanity's favor. Captain Sarah Chen gripped her command chair as Sentinel-7 shuddered under another impact. The orbital platform had never been designed for ship-to-ship combat, yet here it was, trading fire with Zerathon cruisers at point-blank range. Half her weapons were offline. Hull breaches on decks 7 through 12. Casualty reports streaming in faster than her crew could process them, but they were still fighting. Valiant is down. Morrison's voice cracked with emotion. Captain Rodriguez triggered the self-destruct, took 3 Zerathon battlecruisers with him. Sarah closed her eyes for a brief moment, honoring a man she'd served with for a decade. Rodriguez had bought them another few minutes. Another small victory carved from the jaws of certain defeat. When she opened them again, her face was stone. Mark his sacrifice. Continue firing. Human fleet had been whittled down to 16 vessels, each one battered and bleeding atmosphere, each one crewed by people who knew they were buying time with their lives. But the Zerathon Armada had paid dearly for every meter of space they'd claimed. Over 200 alien warships drifted as lifeless hulks through the belt. Testament to human defiance? It still wasn't enough, Commander. Tanaka's Endeavor fought on despite having lost 3/4 of its fighter complement. The carrier had become a weapons platform, its damaged flight deck unable to recover craft, but still capable of launching missiles and devastating volleys. Lieutenant Commander Webb's Defiant had lost main power and was fighting on backup systems. Its young captain coordinating fire with the few remaining frigates to create overlapping fields of destruction. Captain Lieutenant Zhao called out, and something in her voice made Sarah turn. We're detecting a massive energy spike from the Zerathon flagship. Configuration matches a planet-killer weapon. Sarah's blood ran cold. She pulled up the tactical display and saw it immediately, the enormous dreadnought at the center of the alien formation. Its bow splitting open to reveal a weapon that dwarfed anything else on the battlefield. They were going to burn New Horizon itself, scour it clean of all human presence. Time to firing solution? 8 minutes, Captain. 8 minutes. The civilian transports had jumped to safety over an hour ago, but New Horizon still held automated systems, cultural centers. The accumulated work of 23 years of human settlement. More importantly, destroying the planet would serve as a message to every other human colony. Resist and face extinction. Sarah made her decision in the space of a heartbeat. All remaining ships. This is Chen. We're making a run at the flagship. Maximum thrust. All weapons free. We're going to shove that weapon down their throat before they can fire it. Captain, that's suicide. Morrison protested. No, Lieutenant. Sarah corrected him gently. That's the point. Zhao, transmit everything we've learned about the Zerathons back to Earth. Every tactical analysis. Every weapon signature. Every weakness we've found. Make sure our deaths count for something. She switched to the fleet channel one last time. Tanaka, Webb, all of you, it's been an honor. Let's show them how humans end a battle. 16 battered warships turned as one, their damaged engines burning at maximum output. Racing toward the heart of the Zerathon Armada. The aliens tried to intercept them, pouring fire into the human formation. But nothing could stop ships crewed by people who had already accepted their fate. Sentinel-7 led the charge. Sarah at its helm, her hands steady on controls designed for orbital station keeping, now pushing the massive platform faster than its architects ever dreamed possible. Around her, the bridge crew worked with calm efficiency, each one knowing these were their final moments. The Zarathon flagship filled their view screens. Massive and terrible, its planet-killer weapon glowing with building energy. 5 minutes to firing. 4. All power to forward shields, Sarah commanded. And somebody play something appropriately dramatic. We're going out in style. A junior officer, Sarah, didn't even catch his name, queued up an old Earth symphony, something classical and defiant. The music filled the bridge as they plunged into the teeth of the alien fleet. Ships died around them. The frigate Dauntless vanished in a flash of nuclear fire. The destroyer Princeton broke in half, but kept firing until its reactor went critical. Commander Tanaka's Endeavor rammed a Zarathon battlecruiser, the carrier's mass and momentum carrying both vessels, into a tumbling death spiral, and still the remaining human ships pressed forward. Webs. Defiant reached the flagship first, the small frigate pouring everything it had into the dreadnought's bow, trying desperately to disable the planet killer. The weapon fired, but the shot went wide, its targeting systems damaged by the Defiant's suicidal assault. New Horizon remained intact. Webb's ship did not. The Zarathon point defense systems tore the frigate apart, but not before its young captain had sent one final transmission. We did it. We saved them. Sarah watched Lieutenant Commander Marcus Webb's sacrifice and felt pride surge through her grief. Forward, Sentinel 7. For Rodriguez. For Tanaka. For Webb. For humanity. The platform struck the Zarathon flagship like the fist of an angry god. At the speeds they'd achieved, Sentinel 7 became less a ship and more a kinetic weapon, its mass and velocity combining into an equation of pure destruction. The impact tore through the dreadnought's hull, through decks and compartments, through the planet killer, weapons still glowing with unstable energy. The explosion that followed could be seen from New Horizon's surface, a new star blooming briefly in the heavens as the flagship and its killer payload detonated. The shockwave tore through the Zarathon formation, crippling dozens of nearby vessels. In the silence that followed, War Master Krelix stood alone in what remained of his command ship, staring at the tactical display that showed his fleet in ruins. Of the 917 vessels he'd brought to this system, fewer than 500 remained combat effective. The humans had been destroyed to the last ship. True, but they had broken the back of the Crimson Fleet. The War Master opened a channel, broadcasting on all frequencies, knowing that automated systems throughout the New Horizon system would record his words and transmit them to Earth. Humans, Krelix spoke, and for the first time, there was no arrogance in his voice, only a weary respect. You have taught the Zarathon Imperium a lesson this day. We came to conquer. We came expecting easy victory over a primitive species. Instead, we found warriors who turned rocks into weapons, who fought with cunning and courage, who chose death over surrender. The alien paused, his multiple eyes closing briefly. The Zarathon Imperium claims New Horizon by right of conquest. But no, this we will never forget the price your people made us pay. Your Captain Chen, your Rodriguez, your Tanaka, and Webb, and all the others whose names we learned today. They will be remembered in our military histories as worthy adversaries. And when our fleets next approach human space, they will do so with caution, with respect, and with the knowledge that humanity does not yield easily. The transmission ended. Krelix ordered his shattered fleet to occupy the New Horizons system. Knowing that the cost of this single colony had been catastrophic, he had won the battle, but had learned a terrible truth. Humanity was not a species to be conquered lightly. On Earth, 6 months later, Sarah Chen's daughter stood before a memorial wall that bore the names of 3,742 people, every soul lost defending New Horizon. She placed her hand against her mother's name, tears streaming down her face, but her chin held high. Around her, construction crews worked on new warships, incorporating lessons learned from the battle. Tactical academies studied the Chen maneuver, teaching new officers how to turn disadvantage into opportunity. Across human space, the message was clear. The Zarathons had taken New Horizon. But they had paid such a price that no other alien power dared test humanity's resolve. Sarah Chen had said they wouldn't win, only that they'd make the aliens remember. In that, she had been absolutely right. The Battle of New Horizon became legend, a story told to every human child. A reminder that courage and sacrifice could turn even defeat into a kind of victory. And in the asteroid belt where Sarah had made her final stand, a memorial beacon floated among the debris, broadcasting a simple message to any who passed. Here, humanity stood. Here, we did not yield. Here, we showed the stars who we are. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Humanity was here to stay.